Well, Kazwaki, we were proven wrong yet again. As last week, maybe the week before, we discussed what would our top five holdings be if you couldn't touch them for 10 years.
Yeah,
And what did I say?
you
I,
you mentioned about the curve.
I said Curve,
Yeah,
which had dropped this week 20% or more on news that Curve was hacked in kind of an odd series of events.
yeah.
A vulnerability in Vyper, which is a
Vyper.
Python-based programming
Mm-hmm.
language. Would you call it that? It is. It is its own
Yeah.
language, right? It's not a framework. Or is it a framework?
Uh, I think it's sort of I don't know language for smart contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's either a Python-like language or it's a Python framework
Yep.
for writing smart contracts. I'm not sure which. I
Ah.
don't think
Yeah.
that many people use it, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember like Uniswap version 1 were fully written with
Yeah.
Viper, but like they switched to the Solidity. I think because of a security reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just additional layers of abstraction, I think, that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Looking at Viper code, though, I do think it's easier to read. But maybe that's because I like Python.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently older versions of Viper were vulnerable to a re-entrancy, I guess a read-only re-entrancy attack. Re-entrancy being like some sort of recursive calling of contracts that would result in the contracts issuing transactions either partially or wholly in an unintended way. I guess that's a good way to put it. Usually involving draining funds of some sort of contract. And so that is what happened in the case of Curve. I think for upwards of 70 million, some other protocols as well, JPEG'd and others, were vulnerable. And it was kind of a scramble. As soon as the hack happened, people were trying to figure out what caused it. Then some sort of researcher figured out what caused it, published some notes on it on Twitter, and then immediately thereafter, places on BNB started getting hacked because people knew what to do then, which sucks. But what are you going to do? It's
Yeah.
0 day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Mad scramble. Everyone,
Yep.
everyone for themselves. But what's interesting, so I've been following this story since it broke, and apparently people found on chain that the person who had discovered the vulnerability had performed a test run of it 2 weeks prior to the attack. Why they didn't execute the attack sooner is anybody's guess. However, I think it is speculated that it may have been some time they took to try to avoid MEV in executing their attack. However, they were front run. I don't know if you saw this, but it resulted in one of the largest block rewards ever of I think close to 600 ETH.
Wow.
The front runner bid for the ability to front run this attack, and also the front runner was a white hat in this case and has returned the funds. So pretty
Awesome.
amazing all around. Actually, MEV
Yeah.
saves the day here. Upwards, I think, of 50 million was the initial attack that got front run.
Yeah.
So overall, it's not over yet. This could still be a big issue because the price of Curve dropping so much, and then also one of the large holders of Curve, and I believe one of the founders, has a very large position on Aave that they used to
Yeah.
purchase a $100 million mansion, which is what I've heard.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I saw that.
So they might get liquidated, which
Yeah.
would be a big problem for DeFi as a whole. I mean, whatever. I'm interested in buying some Curve. So Curve is an interesting token because it actually has a lot of utility, and I think they were one of the first to do this kind of what would you call it, like gauge style voting in DeFi in terms of boosting, all that DeFi crap. But yeah, Curve was hacked. Several other protocols were hacked, and it's not over yet. So keep an eye on Curve. But the MEV here did, something pretty positive, I think, in general. Stopping an attack. Although I don't, it was an automated bot that just saw a super valuable thing. However, here's a question I've got for you, Kazuaki. A moral, ethical question. The 600 million, or not 600 million, 600 ETH that was paid by the front runner. What should happen to that money? Because they return the funds, right?
Yeah.
Should the miner return the funds now to the front runner? Okay. If they don't return the funds, are these funds stolen? Because these are presumably the 600 ETH. Say the person didn't return, the white hat didn't return the funds to Curve. But they paid 600 ETH to front run the transaction. That 600 ETH, that seems like criminal proceeds, right?
Yeah.
Like they committed a crime by hacking the protocol. Whether or not you think that's a crime, the U.S. government, I think, has shown that they believe it's a crime to do that.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think code is law, okay? Different governments think it's a crime. That 600 ETH, I guess it's paid before you get the money from the crime, but it still seems like that doesn't matter. And that 600 ETH is a pretty serious crime in and of itself. What do you think? If miners keep large block rewards, large bribes from flashbots, etc., during hacks, should they be prosecuted? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I don't know really.
I think hackers should get to keep the money, but that's not what most people think. And so if you think the hacker shouldn't get to keep the money and that they're a criminal, I think that the validator is also part of the crime if they accept a block reward for it.
Yeah.
And I think Flashbots is also part of the criminal syndicate here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know why I say that? Because this is something I learned this week. I don't know if you know this. If you have an address that uses Tornado Cash and you try to send something through Flashbots RPC from that address, they won't accept it. So they're concerned about some crimes, and they've taken action to make themselves look like they're not criminals. So they don't believe code is law. And so, in my opinion, according to their own morals, they're involved in the crime as well. So I call upon Joe Biden to arrest everyone involved at Flashbots immediately, as well as all of the validators. And then the U.S. government should be responsible for running a private RPC and validator network. And they should hire me to administer it. What do you think?
Yeah, that should be good.
I'm the perfect person, I used to work for the DOD. I have a security clearance. I am a Fed, so hire me. How's that for spicy takes?
Yeah.